especially considering the way that he ran Talladega earlier this year and the way that he ran Daytona on Saturday night. Has a great shot. Talladega is in the round of 8. Christopher Bell is another driver who it sets up for very, very well. And then I've got to go with Blaney. I think you look at what he's done over the last 6 races on the schedule. This team is on the upswing right now, and they're not making mistakes like they had in the first 20 races of the season when they had 7 DNFs.
All right, so there's Brad Gilley's top 4. A good, solid group there, Brad.
Absolutely,
love that.
Yeah, I overlap with two of those 4 drivers. I have also have Byron in my final 4, and I have Blaney for both of the same reasons that Brad picked both of those drivers. I also have Denny Hamlin. You know, I know we've talked about Denny Hamlin quite a bit, and will he, won't he kind of thing when it comes to winning a championship. I think, he the last few weeks haven't been great to him, but I think he's the kind of driver that can push that out of his mind. You know, we talk about other drivers, talk about Bubba Wallace and ones that their headspace might not be that great, and that could affect them, on the racetrack. I think Denny Hamlin's different. I think his brain works differently. So I think he's going to be able to push that out and make it to the final 4, especially when you think about the first, getting out of the first round. We talked about it with the racetracks that we have. He could go this weekend and win Darlington hands down. So, and then I have Joey Logano, because I just don't think you ever count out Joey Logano.
Well, no, you don't. Defending champion, and he showed us last year he can get hot at the end of the year and go on and win the whole thing. I have a lot of agreement with both of you. I like Ryan Blaney a lot. I just do. I think, as Brad pointed out, he's getting hot right now. He's a past champion, so he's been through this war before, and he has won a title. I think that means so much in the game of having been there and having experienced it. So I like Blaney. Denny Hamlin, for all the reasons you just said. Does he win the title? I have no idea, but I think he's got a really good shot of overcoming everything that he's had to deal with this year. I think he'll be in the mix when we get out to Phoenix. I will say this. He won't get talked out of a title. He did before. He let drivers get into his head before and convince him, Kevin Harvick being one of them, that he wasn't going to win, and he didn't. That won't happen now. The older, wiser Denny. William Byron, because he's fast. What do they have? What do they have in their car? They bring a lot of speed.
Hey, man, when you've led the most laps, right? You have speed.
You have speed, which is so dumb. What else do you build race cars for?
Well, but some build them that don't have a whole lot of speed.
Yeah,
so, you got to give credit to the ones that do.
Here's my ultimate long shot.
Oh boy, here we go.
I gotta have one of those, because if this comes in, I get genius level.
It's going to be a 3-point shot from on the buzzer.
It is 3 points. It's SVG.
Wow.
I like it.
I think he makes it to the round of 8 because of the Roval being the last. I think he gets out of the first round because he's got a lot of playoff points
and a high racing IQ.
Yeah, and if he doesn't, and he's racing better on the ovals. He led laps at Daytona.
Yeah,
that was kind of surprising for me. He got up there and he looked comfortable doing it. Is it a long shot? Yeah, but he could get there. If he gets into the round of 8, keeps his nose clean, he's going to have some other people self-destruct.
Sure.
Yeah, that's given. But I think you can say that argument for just about anybody.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you could say too that he and maybe the first 6 drivers in the playoff standings have kind of built themselves in a mulligan with the amount of playoff points that they have. And he might need it. He's the one guy that might need it.
Let me throw a name out here for both of you and tell me what we're going to see. What's Chase Elliott going to do, Brad? He's a past champion. He's the fan favorite across the board, but where's he going to wind up in all of this?
It's weird. I know he just had 2 races in a row finishing outside of the top 20, the first 2 of the year. But I do think there's a lot of consistency, and I think, I make my guesses, because that's what they are. I don't even want to call it predictions. I make my guesses based on performance at the tracks where we're going. And some of those tracks where we're going set up very, very well for Chase Elliott. And I'm not even talking about the Roval that he's won multiple times. That was in an old generation of race car. But he is very good at Darlington. He's very good at Bristol. I think he is very good at Kansas Speedway and Las Vegas. I mean, I think a lot of these tracks play well to them. Consistency can get you there. Remember, one driver will make the championship four, at least one, based on points, but I do want to see them run up front more than what they have. The only race where I feel like they've been dominant was Dover, and they didn't end up winning that race, but that was the only race where I feel like they've actually had a dominant day.
Alexis, what do we see out of the driver of the number 9 in the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Brad that there are some racetracks that set up really nice for him. I think he's going to have a little bit of a hard time only because, he has 13 playoff points, which is certainly more than, the bottom half of the field. But getting into that final round, I think, is going to be difficult setting up against drivers that have, they're in the 30s and in the upper 20s when it comes to playoff points because they, as everybody knows, they reset and go from round to round. So I think he's going to have to battle a little bit harder than some of the top guys because of that playoff point deficit, but he could certainly do it. We've seen him do it before. He's a past champion.
If he can snag a win, his path to get to the Final Four is a lot easier.
Yep.
That is, I don't think he's going to get there by finishing 12th every week.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Because other people are going to be winning and they're going to be leapfrogging over him. We'll see how that plays out. We got a couple of past champions that are basically watching this one from the sideline. We'll talk about them next. Make your plans now to stay at the South Point Hotel Casino and Spa when NASCAR returns to Las Vegas. They have great race ticket and room packages for you to choose from. The South Point also features a wide variety of excellent dining options at 11 different restaurants. Or you can enjoy the 16-screen movie complex and visit the 64-lane bowling center. Visit southpointcasino.com and make your reservations today. Stay where the racers stay at the South Point Hotel Casino and Spa.
We work hard to keep our cars looking great on the outside, but engine components need our attention too. That's where you can trust Z-Max Micro Lubricant to disperse carbon buildup in your engine and fuel system. To keep your car or truck running at its peak. By soaking into the metal of your engine, Z-Max Micro Lubricant improves performance, extends engine life, and reduces emissions. Trust the many customers who've said, "Thanks for saving my engine." Find out more at zmax.com or follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
This is Carson Hocevar, and you're listening to PRN, the Performance Racing Network.
It's Bristol.
Allgaier immediately goes to the outside. Down on the bottom is Larson. Side by side for second is Connor Zilic.
Allgaier caught on the outside trying to fight back. A big wiggle out of Justin Allgaier again, but he's able to hold on to third.
Sam Mayer starts to go low, then he goes high to block Kyle Larson. That hurts Larson, but could introduce Ryan Sieg.
It's the Food City 300. Friday night, September 12th at 7 Eastern on PRN, the Performance Racing Network.
In Iraq, our truck hit a roadside bomb. I had about 16 surgeries on my hand so that I could regain function. And when I came home, I needed a new roof due to a storm. And I was about to lose homeowners insurance as well. I applied for Operation Homefront Critical Financial Assistance Program. And it's good to know that when we come home, there are people who are there that care about us. Operation Homefront, they've really been a blessing.
The NASCAR Cup Series regular season in the books, and we went to Daytona this year with two past champions knowing that they had to win to advance to the playoffs. They were Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski. For either one of them, they win. They get to go on and play in the playoffs. It didn't happen, so they're basically on the sideline for the last 10 races. Do they have a chance to win? Sure they do. They haven't done it yet. A little perspective on both of these drivers. Great champions, people that are future Hall of Famers. Brad Keselowski last won on May 12th, 2024 at Darlington. So well over a year, about a year and a half since he's won a race. Kyle Busch won June 4th, 2023 at Worldwide Technology Park. How surprised are you by the outcomes of both of these, Alexis? Keselowski and Kyle Busch, neither one of them getting to the playoffs.
I'd love to say I was really surprised because, like you said, these are future Hall of Famers. These are guys that we expect to see winning and to be running up front. I had my prediction last week. I thought Brad K might race his way in at Daytona. That didn't happen. Actually, all of RFK was shut out, which I think is maybe even the bigger shocker, of the story. But, Kyle Busch has not, what'd you say? It's been 2 years, over 2 years since he won.
June 4th, 2023. So over 2 years.
He just doesn't have, in my opinion, and again, we can talk about Austin Dillon winning at Richmond. I think that was an anomaly, to be honest with you. When it comes to Richard Childress Racing and the cars that they've been able to put on the racetrack, I just don't think that Kyle Busch has all the tools at his disposal. Not to mention the fact that he's at that point in his career where history has shown us that most drivers tend to start to decline. You have your outliers, you have your Denny Hamlins who are still winning races and doing all of these great things, but from a historic standpoint, when you look at drivers get to the age that Kyle Busch is, that part of their career, a lot of times you see a decline in performance. Mix that or pair that with RCR's ability or inability to field great race cars, and it's just an uphill battle for Kyle Busch, I think, at this section of his career. So I'm not wholly surprised that he didn't make it, and I'm not that surprised that Brad Keselowski didn't make it. Again, I think the biggest thing here for me was surprised that all of RFK was shut out.
Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch, I felt like Brad dug themselves big holes early in the season, and they got into that mode that they had to win to get in fairly early on and never could.
Yeah, I mean, look, we were talking about Brad Keselowski potentially not even being a part of the bracket challenge midsummer because you had to be top 32 in the standings to be a part of that. He was, and then he quickly raced his way up into the top 20, which really impressed me, but that was just too little too late for them to be able to do anything. And to Alexa's point, all of RFK is out of it. They haven't won. They have not gone to victory lane. And for Kyle Busch, I don't feel like they've gotten any better this year. It's one thing, okay, if you haven't won, but this time last year we saw him finish second at Daytona, had a couple of runner-up finishes, and you thought maybe they're on the upswing a little bit. I don't feel like they're on the upswing at all right now, which has concern for me. I would think among those two, if we were to say one of them could win in the final 10 of the season, and I don't think they can, but I would choose Keselowski over Kyle Busch in that regard.
Well, they've got a wide open shot, all of them do, because we go to Talladega, so throw a name out there. It could be Noah Gragson that could win at Talladega. I will look at it this way. Kyle Busch was involved in that big crash at Richmond that took out a lot of teams. He triggered that. Kyle Busch 3 years ago doesn't do that. The Kyle Busch of 2025 has that happen and has had that happen more often than not this year. And I look back at the career of Martin Truex Jr. His last year in the game, not winning. We never thought that he was going to win a race. The last 3 seasons, Jimmy Johnson, 7-time champion, couldn't scratch a W. Maybe we're at that point now with Kyle Busch. Maybe we're there with Brad Keselowski. They could all go out and win a race again. But I think every race that goes by, the odds of them getting back to a relevant status in the NASCAR Cup Series world, Brad Gilly, get less and less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say so. And again, you get over 40, you talk about all of these things. Do I still think they could win? Sure. Do I think Kyle Busch has already won his last race? I don't. But you just got to have something going right for you. And there are too many other teams right now that have that something going right, especially the playoffs contenders. And while we talked earlier that we haven't had that one dominant team or driver, this is also a part of the season where people have a tendency to step up. And sure, we've had non-playoffs drivers win over the last couple of seasons. I mean, Ross Chastain did it last year at Kansas. Chris Buescher did it at Watkins Glen. Do I think a non-playoffs driver will win in the final 10? I do, but it's just a tough situation for those two guys, Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski, right now.
When you think about both of them, and you say, is this the last time we're ever going to see them win? I don't believe that that's the case, but I do believe it's the last time that they're going to be in the same conversation as being a threat to win week in and week out. And both of those drivers, for the better part of their career, always were in the conversation when it came to threats to win week in and week out. And so that, I think, is where you see that downfall a little bit.
And I think Brad Keselowski has to get over the fact that none of his teams are in the playoffs, which means none of them won this year.
Yeah.
As much as we talk about how good Chris Buescher is and Ryan Preece and Brad Keselowski's past history, Brad Gilly, they didn't win. That's got to send off alarm bells at RFK.
Yeah, not only did they not win, they had a couple of fairly large setbacks as well after Ryan Preece finished second at Talladega. A spoiler shim, an extra spoiler shim, took him out of that one. He was disqualified. That was a 41-point loss. Then you had Chris Buescher, almost had a 60-point penalty, but they ended up getting that reduced to a 30-point penalty. You look at all the combinations, and look, even in the absence of those two, if they had got all those points, they still would not have made the playoffs based on points. You had to get to victory lane, and I think we see this, and we've seen it a lot, especially in the next-gen era. You're going to have to get to victory lane, and I don't think we're going to ever have more than 16 winners in a regular season, but man, 14 doesn't leave very much room for non-winners to get in.
It'll be a long off season, I think, at RFK.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they've got some restructuring to do, if you will. They've got some things to think about. Because I can tell you that when this season started, I looked at them as being a potential team to have multiple drivers in the playoffs. And so the fact that they have none is a bit of a shocker to me, and I'm sure to them as well.
But you look at the teams that have multiple cars in the playoffs, it's the usual suspects.
That's true.
It's Penske with all their cars in, and Hendrick with their cars in, and Gibbs didn't get all their cars in, but they're going to be a player in all of this going down to the end. So the teams that have the muscle, that have the finance, and what I like to call critical mass, once again, are going to be the big players when we get to the playoffs. We'll be right back with more.
Let's talk about your health insurance. There are a lot of reasons why people need affordable health insurance. But here's the bottom line. You know you need affordable health insurance. For you, a spouse, a family member, whatever. I'm going to give you a free hotline to call to find affordable health insurance that can cover all your health insurance needs in case you get sick or have an emergency. Plus, cover vision, dental, and more. And there are no long-term commitments. You can keep your plan as long as it's affordable. And for the price of a cup of coffee. We're not talking about one of those fancy coffees. For the price of a regular cup of coffee a day, you can have quality, affordable health insurance. Call the Health Insurance Hotline for a free quote.
800-275-7851. 800-275-7851. 800-275-7851. That's 800-275-7851.
This is Josh Berry, and you're listening to PRN, the Performance Racing Network.
No one's paying me to say this, but you've been our lifeline. We have no internet. We have no TV. We barely have cell service. I don't know how I'm able to get to you. My Wi-Fi is not working. And I have a radio, and I finally got power on, and I have it plugged in, and I could hear you. You're the only station I can get in.
Wow. Well, I'm glad we're here.
So,
wow.
The report that we got was that a severe tornado was heading right toward us. And I just want to commend you gentlemen for the job that you're doing, for keeping us informed.
I just wanted to say thank you for being on the radio and guiding us to, where we can get help.
I just want to tell you, the first thing I heard was your voices the next morning. Oh, shoot. And it made me cry. The comfort of hearing your voices.
My respiration, perspiration, and aggravation are sky high, but you guys have been the guiding light.
Your local AM station makes a difference.
Before we get into green flag, black flag, a couple of stories that need a little bit of attention. Brad Gilly, it was announced at Daytona that Colleague Racing will field 5 trucks next year for Ram trucks. Is this reason to be excited?
Yeah, it is. It's a reason to be excited because as part of that announcement, Dodge, Stellantis, who owns Dodge and the Ram brand as well, did confirm that this is a way for them to get back into the Cup Series as well. And I think that's pretty exciting that we have another manufacturer. I think the interesting thing as things go along, they're going to be a Dodge truck team, but still be a Chevrolet Cup and Xfinity team on the campus at Richard Childress Racing. How does all of that work out moving forward? But if you go back to when Dodge last entered the sport, they tapped on the shoulder of Ray Evernham, who was Jeff Gordon's crew chief at the time, and Ray Evernham built himself a really nice winning race team out of that. So calling is just the first step in that, but 5 trucks, that's a pretty heavy load right there, and that's going to bring a lot to the truck series and to the sport. I think it's pretty awesome.
I cannot imagine the number of resumes that are on the desk at Welcome, North Carolina for Chris Rice and Matt Collick of people saying, I want to drive one of those trucks.
Yeah.
I'm hearing a lot of rumbling that Corey LaJoie is going to get back into a full-time ride. Doesn't surprise me at all. He's had a couple of good runs lately. All right, Alexis, the other feel-good story, but was Parker Kligerman.
Parker Kligerman, yes. So Connor Zilisch, as we all know, had a tumble out of his window in Victory Lane at Watkins Glen where he broke his collarbone. Well, because of that, he started the race in Daytona but got out because he's got lots of bruising and he didn't want to hurt his collarbone anymore. And Parker Kligerman got in as a relief driver and took that car to Victory Lane. The record books will say that Connor Zilisch won that race, but Parker Kligerman was the one in the driver's seat. So great job, Parker. Sorry the record books will not show you as the winner, but those of us that were able to watch it in real time know exactly what happened.
Racing Reference, put his name in there. Put an asterisk beside it.
I know. But like Connor
there are a lot of asterisks you'll have to add after that.
Connor Zilisch, parentheses, Parker Kligerman, or something. I don't know.
Give him a little love. All right, let's move on to this.
It's time for another edition of Green Flag, Black Flag.
America demands it. We do it. Green flag, black flag. I read wonderful statements about racing and related topics, and our panel mulls them over. If they agree, it gets a green flag from each panelist. If they disagree, how about a black flag? If they're all in unity and harmony. There we go. Let's go to Doug Rice first. Kyle Busch's appearance in the 2023 playoffs was his last.
Green flag. Don't delight in saying that, but I've seen nothing this year that makes me think that Kyle Busch going forward is going to be a playoff contender.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Alexis,
I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I'm gonna say black flag. And the reason why is because I don't know how or if NASCAR is going to change the playoff eligibility format going forward. There's been so much talk about it. There will possibly be some changes, and maybe it won't be win and get in. So I'm going to say black flag, but I think there are few and far between for Kyle Busch going forward.
Brad Gilly. Nope, we lost power on Brad. We must move on.
The world will never know.
The show must go on.
The show goes on. Here we go. We go to Alexis for this one. Ryan Blaney is now the championship favorite.
We talked a lot about how we don't think that there are championship favorites, but I will say that if we're going to declare one, green flag for sure on Ryan Blaney, because he's had such a great year. I think he would even potentially have been able to finish in the number 1 spot on the regular season points if he hadn't had so many crazy things happen that resulted in DNFs throughout the year, because he was in position to win multiple races and had things happen to where, engine failures and such that relegated him to worse finishes that made him not be able to win that regular season championship. But I do believe Ryan Blaney is going to be a force in the 2025 playoffs. So, yeah.
I think he had 7 DNFs.
Yeah,
and those were pretty early on in the year. I like Blaney's shot at getting his second title.
Yeah.
As I said earlier in the show, the fact that he's done this before, it's not new ground. If I was setting the odds, I would make him my favorite, not by much, not a prohibitive mortal lock, but I like where they're at right now.
It's funny that you say if you were setting the odds, because I thought to myself, like, if I had to put money on somebody, your hard-earned money, I would feel comfortable putting it on Blaney. There are some other drivers that I might not be as comfortable saying, yeah, I'm going to put my money on that guy to win.
All righty, we'll get Brad back in here in just a second to answer that question. I think his power came back up. Number 3, Mr. Rice, surprise. SVG is in the championship 4.
Well, I said earlier on the show, so yes, I'm going to green flag that. I think he's got a shot to get there. Is it a long shot? You bet. It will take the moon and the stars lining up. He needs a harmonic convergence of a lot of things to go down, but I can see a path for SVG to be in the Final Four.
Okay.
I can see a path. I don't believe that is going to be the path that's taken. So I'm going to go Black Flag. Look, I think he's had a fantastic rookie season. I mean, I don't know. Somebody could tell me when the last time was somebody won 4 races in their rookie season. But when you think about it, I just don't see how, with the way that the races line up and stack up, yes, he's going to have a good shot to win at the Roval, but will he be able to maneuver everything else to get to that Final Four? I'm not so sure.
I think one of you said earlier he'd make it to the 8.
Yep.
Final. Okay.
I feel good about
You
it
feel about
making
4?
it to
The 8 potentially, 4 no.
4 not so much. Okay.
No.
Okay, here we go. This is kind of a philosophical poser. For $10 million, I will change sides and root for all of my rival teams and drivers from this day forward.
Green flag.
Didn't take long. I wasn't even going to you first.
Green flag.
Yeah, I could become a New England Patriot fan for $10 million.
Sure.
I don't care.
Absolutely.
All right, let's
the Falcons gave me a jersey, but I'm sorry.
But
you
$10
dropped-
million?
You dropped $10 million out on the table?
Look,
I'm pulling for you. I'm buying all your stuff.
Look, I'm currently quoting new HVAC systems for my house, so that $10 million could really come in handy.
All right. Brad, you're back on. I hope you can hear us. Are you back in there?
Yeah, it just reconnected.
Okay, very good. Listen, this is our philosophical question here. For $10 million, I will change sides and root for all of my rival teams and drivers from this day forward.
For $10 million?
$10 million.
Green flag.
Yeah, I was right.
Yeah.
Doug, you said yes.
No question. We all said yes.
Yeah, we're all in. We all want the money.
I was telling David, I said, I think they'd do it for $1 million.
Yeah, yep.
I'm down for that.
Sure.
You might have gotten me for $10K.
For a song on that. Yeah.
Bandwagon fans we are.
Yeah.
What do you
Very
want,
good.
you know?
Okay, Doug Rice, all yours,
I'm
sir.
burning all my Falcon gear for $10,000. So if anybody wants to do that.
There were times when you were burning it for nothing.
Yeah, there were.
So.
Yeah. A certain Super Bowl that we won't mention. Glider fluid is expensive, by the way. You know,
Wow.
It's pricey. And some of that stuff doesn't want to burn. But,
No.
you know,
Yeah.
you keep dousing it on there, it'll eventually catch
It'll work.
fire.
It'll work.
All right. We got to take a timeout. We'll come back with one last thing.
From fueling NASCAR champions on the track for over 20 years to innovating 94 Octane, the highest octane on the market. Performance is what Sunoco does. All Sunoco fuel at the pump meets the same top-tier standards as the fuel used in NASCAR. From the track to your tank, you can trust Sunoco to help your vehicle perform at its peak.
You've only got so many weekends. Spend one doing something nobody saw coming. Is it a party, a festival, a race? It's all of that, and all at once. Concerts, tailgating, unbelievable action, 100 reasons to say this is actually awesome. It's fast, it's wild. It's the cutoff race in NASCAR's playoffs, the Wild Card Weekend. The Bank of America Roval 400, Sunday, October 5th. Get tickets at charlottemotorspeedway.com.
This is Brad Keselowski, and you're listening to PRN, the Performance Racing Network.
These cars are about to fire it off in anger.
Logano back across the stripe. Now Zane Smith putting on some pressure.
Side by side, Austin Cindric has him at the line, and he will take the lead into one.
Boy, what a save. We got cars sideways. It's Christopher Bell. He spins and collects a couple cars. Here comes Shane Van Gisbergen on the bottom. He's looking for second.
Now Chris Buescher fired out of a cannon at turn 2. He's right into the rear bumper of Ty Gibbs. Which way is he going to go?
Oh, it's a multi-car accident. I want to say 15, 20 cars cars. Looks like Austin Cindric is involved. Denny Hamlin. Guys, that took out about 2/3 of the field.
We have a fight on pit road between two crew guys. One of them is with Ty Gibbs. One is with Brad Keselowski.
Brad Keselowski will see the white flag as he drives under the start-finish line.
Chase Elliott has battled at the front all night long. He's won the war. Chase Elliott has just punched his ticket to the playoff.
Awesome job, man. Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
This is PRN.
Take just a second to thank everybody that listens to the show week in and week out. We truly appreciate you. I had a buddy of mine call me the other day. Said, I was somewhere in Tennessee listening to you on Wednesday night. And I thought, well, that's cool. Somebody was playing the show back at that time. So thanks for the folks that have been part of our audience for so many years. It is time now for this.
One last thing.
One last thing, we will defer to Brad Gilly, who we are excited to report has his power back on.
I do, yes. Second time this morning it's gone out, but hopefully it stays. My one last thing is I'm ready to celebrate the moment. I like playoffs, and I know there's been a lot of talk on social media, and it's really easy to rile up whatever base you want to rile up, depending on how you present something. But we've seen a lot of great moments throughout. Last year, you go back to the round of 8, Tyler Reddick passing Ryan Blaney on the last lap at Homestead Miami Speedway. Then the very next week, Ryan Blaney going and winning at Martinsville Speedway to win his way through in a race that we saw Christopher Bell attempt to do sort of halfway what Chastain did successfully a few years before and ride the wall. This is what the playoffs are about. And again, it doesn't matter whether you're in it or you're out of it. You can still have those great moments. Chastain had one last year when he won at Kansas Speedway. Chris Buescher had that moment when he beat Shane Van Gisbergen by roughing him up on the last lap at Watkins Glen. This is what these next 10 races are going to be about. My excitement level is at an all-time high when it comes to this part of the season, and I can't wait. I think our playoffs format brings great moments.
I'm looking forward to it myself. You know, one of the stories that we had this past week that we weren't able to mention because we had so much playoff chatter in most of the show was that NASCAR released the 2026 schedule. And there were a lot of races that are similar to the 2025 schedule, but there were some really cool things too. You know, obviously it was already announced before the schedule release that we're going to be doing a street race at a naval base in San Diego, which is really cool. And Chicagoland Speedway is coming back. But specifically talking about Speedway Motorsports part of the schedule, Dover Motor Speedway is going to get the All-Star race, and we're going to have a points race at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Who would have thought even 3 or 4 years ago that we would be racing back at North Wilkesboro Speedway for a points race in the NASCAR Cup Series? I, for one, am really excited about it. I know Brad Gilly is because he's going to get to anchor our broadcast for that weekend. Really, really cool stuff that's going to happen in 2026.
I'm excited about the North Wilkesboro part of this. Yeah. I really am. I sensed last year after the All-Star race when Christopher Bell won, or this year earlier, that it was a good race. People were buzzing and they wanted a return to 400 laps of racing.
So, you know, they talked about, NASCAR brass talked about the reason why they made this decision is because they had some, fan council stuff that they had done some polling. And I think it was like 80% of fans said they wanted a points race at North Wilkesboro. So NASCAR said, all right, let's do it.
Well, they'll sell some tickets. Yeah. And let's hope that it's a good show and that people are clamoring to go back and back. I knew they were getting a points race after they built like a $4 million pedestrian bridge across the highway that runs next to North Wilkesboro Speedway. I thought, they're not just doing that for funsies. I do want to end the show here talking about an event that happened this past week when Humpy Wheeler, the longtime president and general manager of Charlotte Motor Speedway, passed away. I was lucky enough to work for Humpy for 2 decades. I cannot count how much I learned from that man. He could be a hard boss. He could be really scary, and you hated the thought of him coming into your office or even walking by. But more times than not, he was a counselor. He was a leader, and he was a mentor. But the biggest word that I can describe Humpy Wheeler by, he was a visionary. He could see what could be. And he wasn't just a visionary. We all have visions of what could be. Humpy had the fortitude to go out and make his visions reality. if he envisioned that we could have the most elaborate pre-race show and reenact the invasion of Granada, guess what? That's what we did, complete with paratroopers and tanks and everything else that goes along with that. Humpy was oftentimes called the P.T. Barnum of NASCAR. I want to say this. They should have called P.T. Barnum the Humpy Wheeler of the circus world, because Humpy was a bit of a character, but more than that, I think he understood as much as any person who ever lived, Alexis and Brad, what made the race fans tick. And he and Bruton Smith together were a great combo, like any great duo.
Absolutely. I mean, between Humpy and Bruton, when you talk about fans first, there was nobody that was more fans first than those two guys. And so great to see him get the landmark award this year from the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, it was great that he was there for that and knew that he got that honor and that recognition, and certainly will be missed, and had a big influence across the entire sport of NASCAR, not just Charlotte Motor Speedway.
One little insightful tidbit here about Humpy. I used to be on the 7th floor here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Humpy's office was around the corner. He entertained everybody, from presidents to senators to actors to politicians. He had them all. And Humpy had a little ritual that he would do. He always had a quart of moonshine, which is, I guess, the unofficial beverage of North Carolina. And he would crack it open and he would I don't know that it ever got drank, but he had this moonshine and you could smell it and people would recoil. But that was Humpy's icebreaker. Once he had you in that thing and he had the moonshine open and you smelled it, Humpy knew that he was doing something special and it was making an impression on you. And I know that's a small thing, but it was one of his calling cards. I am blessed that I got to work for the man for 20 years and encountered him and considered him a friend. So, Humpy, thanks for everything that you gave me and everyone else in the NASCAR community. I can promise you, you will never be forgotten. And like Alexis said, I'm glad you got to be around and see your name go into the NASCAR Hall of Fame. For Brad Gilly, Alexis Erickson, and the rest of the team here, I'm Doug Rice, back next week with a whole bunch more Fast Talk.
Fast Talk was presented by Toyota. For the latest Toyota Gazoo racing information, visit tgrna.com. And by Sunoco. From NASCAR to your car, Sunoco Fuel helps your car reach peak performance. This is PRN, the Performance Racing Network.